Okay, this is where we bring it all together. Very short chapter, chapter 11. Exciting. If you are up to date on chapters 1 through 5, then you are ready to start interpreting rhythms. It's super exciting. If you're not, please catch up, review, study, reach out to me. I will try to help you. This can really be something fun to do while you're learning. So this is you start to see a response, and it's fun. So, chapter 6, we put it all together, all the basics from chapters 1 through 5. And we are going to use these to determine how to interpret a rhythm. So, and we are looking for pathology in the form of arrhythmias. Do you remember what arrhythmia means? Abnormal. Rhythm is a normal rhythm. Arrhythmia means it's abnormal. And we're looking at the pathology, the tissue, right? The tissue that squeezes the blood out, the blood pressure, the conduction system, that when that spark hits the tissue, it contracts, the depolarization and the repolarization, the pathology of the arrhythmia, the tissue of that arrhythmia. Even so-called normal rhythms or heart rates can be a cause for concern. You always want to look at the trend. Comparing the present rhythm strip to a previous one paints a better picture of the patient's condition. So for example, let's say somebody comes in January and they had chest pain. Well, what are we going to do? We're going to give them, they go to the ER, they're going to get an EKG rhythm. Let's say they come in 2 months later and they're having chest pain again. They're going to get another EKG done. Normal. Let's say they come in April and they're still saying that they're having chest pain. Well, now we have 3 EKG strips that we can look to see if there is a pattern to what's causing him to have these chest pains. And sometimes these 3 rhythms could be normal rhythms, and then we're going to look deeper and see if there's a pattern that we're just that maybe we're seeing a normal rhythm, but maybe there's something that we're not seeing. So even a so-called normal rhythm, heart rates can be a cause of concern. Always look at the trend. Those are those 3 rhythms in the ER visit that somebody came in. Comparing the present rhythm strip to the previous one is going to paint a picture of that patient's condition. So, how do we interpret these rhythms? Guess what? You already know. You already know what to do. We're going to ask ourselves the following questions. These 5 questions, sink to memory. Write them down on that note card I told you about, and don't forget what the 5 steps are. When we get to EKG 2, you're going to learn 6 steps. So get these down in EKG 1, so when EKG 2, you don't get confused when you're interpreting a 12-lead rhythm. Right now, we're only interpreting a 1-lead rhythm so that you can understand how that interpretation works. So you're going to ask yourself 5 steps. The very first question is, are there QRSs? Yes or no? Done. That's your first question. So you're going to look at your rhythm. Do you see QRSs? Yes. Do you see it? You do not see QRSs. That last practice strip that we just did in chapter 5, it was kind of hard to see them QRSs, right? So you could have put a no for that one. So do you see QRS complexes? Second question, is that rhythm regular but interrupted, or irregular? Guess what? You just did that in chapter 5. So first of all, you're going to say, are there QRSs? Second of all, is it regular, irregular, or interrupted? How do I figure out that regularity again? I'm going to count the little boxes in between my R to R intervals. Remember, interval means time. That's the little boxes in between the R to R intervals going horizontal. Third question, what is your heart rate? What is that strip's heart rate? So if I'm an irregular rhythm, I can use the 6-second method, which is multiplying by 10 my QRSs. But I need to get the range by using my little block or memory method, right? What is the heart rate of that rhythm? And if it's irregular or if it's interrupted by a pause, I have to get the range, the slowest to fastest rate. Are there P waves? Yes or no? You know what that P wave looks like, right? It comes before the QRS. And what are your intervals? That's going way back into, was it chapter 4? think it was chapter 4. Your PR interval and your QRS interval. And what was the rules? My PR needed to be in between 0.12 and 0.20, and my QRS needed to be less than 0.12 seconds. So what is normal? A sinus rhythm is known as your normal rhythm, and this is the rules of a normal rhythm. My normal rhythm needs to have a narrow QRS complex with a uniform shape. What does uniform shape mean? That means if you think about school kids, right? Our public school systems in this area and our private school systems, the students have to wear a uniform, meaning they all have to look alike. If we were in class right now, you would be in gray scrubs. We would be in uniform. Everybody would know you were part of the patient care tech program, and then you were in a medical class, and you were in uniform. So my QRSs, when they say they need to be narrow, they need to be narrow, and all of my QRSs need to be narrow. So I can't just have one, a narrow and then a wide and then a narrow, then a wide, and so forth. Everybody needs to be uniform. For my sinus rhythm, which is your normal rhythm, your regularity is going to be spaced QRS complexes. What that means is that auto-R interval is regular. It's only 1 to 2 boxes off in between all of your QRS complexes. Your heart rate is going to be between 60 to 100 beats per minute. Write this down. What is the normal heart rate? 60 to 100 beats per minute. How do I get that heart rate? Remember, we're going to do your 3 methods, your 6-second, your little box, or your memory method, depending on that rhythm. In this case, it's regular, so I could do the 6-second method. Your P waves, they need to be upright and matching. Same thing, they need to be uniform. They just threw in the word matching here. And they also need to be married to the QRS, meaning for every QRS, there needs to be a P wave. For every P wave, there needs to be a QRS, meaning they are married. Your PR interval, there's your rules that we've already discussed. Needs to be 0.12 to 0.20 seconds, and it needs to be the same in between each beat, in between each QRS complex. And your QRS interval needs to be less than 0.12 seconds, meaning it is a narrow QRS. So that leaves us with our abnormal rhythms with this arrhythmia. Now, you might think, oh, those are easy rules for me to memorize for my normal rhythm. Guess what? You have 33 more rhythms with rules that you need to know. So this is the very first set of rules that you need to know is what are the rules of a normal rhythm, which is going to be your normal PR intervals, your normal QRS intervals, upright matching P waves that are married to QRS, narrow QRSs, and regularity, and so forth. That's your first set of rules that you need to know for a normal rhythm. Now, what is an arrhythmia? This is where you're going to get about 33 different types of arrhythmias that you're going to have to know the rules for each and know what part of the heart it is talking about and what is going on, and so forth. So an arrhythmia, again, means abnormal heart rhythms. They will have some combination of the following. QRS complexes are absent or abnormally shaped. P waves are absent, multiple in number, or abnormally shaped. Abnormally shortened or prolonged PR intervals. Abnormally prolonged QRS intervals. Heart rate is abnormal from slow to fast. And you have an irregular rhythm or rhythm interrupted by a premature beat or a pause. These are known as arrhythmias, abnormal. So, let's go ahead and practice these 5 steps of rhythms that follow. Note the following characteristics and attributes. Your QRS complexes, that's your first question. Yes or no? Do we have them? Your second question, is it regular or is it irregular? Third question, what's my heart rate? Fourth question, are there P waves? Yes or no? Fifth question, what are my intervals? So I'm going to do the first one with you and leave the rest for you to do on your own and practice. I cannot do them all for you. You have to try and do it on your own. Study the material, do your practice work, call me if there's just something that you're not understanding and can figure out. So here's the first strip. I'm going to go ahead and see what my second strip. Okay, and here's my second strip. So in your book, it should tell you, it should give you blanks on how to answer these questions and put them in the blanks. But on my PowerPoint, it doesn't look like it is showing it. So I'm just going to write it down on my own. I know that my 5 questions, my first question is, are there QRSs? My second question is its regularity. My third question is the heart rate. Fourth question is P waves, and fifth question is PR interval and my QRS interval. So first question on practice strip number 2. Do you see QRSs? Yes. And I'm going to circle them for you. QRS, 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 QRS. So my first question, yes, I have QRSs. My second question, also my QRSs, are they all narrow and uniform? They are, except for this one. And how do I know they're narrow? It should be 0.12 seconds for my QRS complex. So how do I get, my QRS interval? And I'll talk about that when we get to the last step. So now we're going to look at regularity, which is counting. We need to count. I'm trying to erase. There we go. We need to count the little boxes in between my consecutive QRSs. So I see 5 little boxes here plus 5 little boxes here, which is 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, I'm going to say 22. Next one. 5, 10, 15, 21. 5, 10, 15, 21. Now remember, if I have a premature beat, what do? I ignore that beat for my premature beat. And I'm going to come count the next 2. 5, 10, 15, 21. So here I can see I have a regular but interrupted by a premature beat. Okay, so my second question, what's my regularity? Regular, but interrupted by a premature beat. All right, next question is, what is my heart rate? So if I have a regular, remember that slide I told you to remember in chapter 5? If I have a heart rate, if I have a rhythm that is regular but interrupted, I have to get the range and the heart rate. And so I'm just going to go ahead and get the mean first, how do I get that mean rate? I count by tens. My QRS is 10, 20, 30, 40, remember, ignore, 50, 60. So my mean rate here is 60 beats per minute. And then I need to get, I erased it. I need to get the range, right? It was regular. So I'm going to get the range in between this beat. All of these are regular, which was 21 boxes, I believe. 21. And then this one, I'm going to count, I've got 5. And I'm going to remember, we're going to ignore this beat. So 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 44, 44. So that's little boxes that I've counted. So to get that rate, I'm going to do the little box method, which is divided by 1500. So I am going to do 1500 divided by 44, which gives me 34, and then by 21, so 1500 divided by 21 is going to give me 71. So my slowest rate is going to be 34, so this is my range. My slowest rate is going to be 71 to my fastest rate, which is going to be 34. So remember, the further apart the little boxes or the consecutive QRSs, the slower that beat was, and the closer, the faster that beat is. And we want the range to be from the slowest to the fastest. So that answers my third question. My mean rate, 60 beats per minute, and my range is going from 71 beats per minute to 34. And I did do that wrong, and I think I've been doing it wrong the whole time. So retract all the times that I was put in the bigger number first. It is vice versa. So it should be 34 to 71. 34 to 71. There we go. Okay, then my next question. Do I have P waves? These P waves are very hard to see. Remember, your P wave comes before your QRS and your T wave comes after. You could say that your P wave is hidden or buried here in your T wave, or vice versa. But I can clearly see a wave right here. So I am going to assume that that is my wave. And you can see they are all before it and they are all matching. This one's a little lower than the other ones, and this one's a little more rounded. But these are my P waves. So do I have P waves? Yes. Are they married? Yes. Are they matching? Yes. And then we need to do my PR interval on my QRS interval. Now, the thing with doing these is whatever two complexes you want to measure, or whatever one complex that you want to measure for these intervals, you have to stay with that for all your measurements. You can't measure your PR interval over here and then come over here and measure your QRS. You have to measure them both right there. Okay, so PR interval, if you remember, it's from the beginning of your P wave to the beginning of your QRS. So I'm going to do it on the first one. Here is the beginning of my P wave, which is half a box before that little line. And my QRS is right on the line right here, the beginning of my QRS. So I can clearly see 2.5 boxes. So 2.5 times 0.04 seconds is going to give me my PR interval. When you're doing your calculations, make sure that you are putting in the 0 in front of the 4, 0.04. And this actually gave me 0.10 seconds for my PR interval. Remember, my PR interval needs to be between 0.12 and 0.20. So I'm 2.2 away. I'm going to stay on this complex and measure my QRS, which I see 2 boxes. And we know that 2 times 4 is 12, and my QRS needs to be less than 12. So, my 5 answers. Do we have QRSs? Yes. I am regular, but interrupted by a premature beat. My mean rate is 60 beats per minute, and my range is from slowest is 34 to fastest 71 beats per minute. I have P waves, they are married and they are matching. My PR interval is 0.10 seconds, and my QRS is 0.12. Therefore, I have a regular rhythm, right? What's a normal heart rate? 60 to 100 beats per minute. Oh, this one looks really hard, right? So I'm going to do this one with you, and that's it. Do I have QRSs? Yes, I do. Is this regular? Well, let's see. We have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 33, 34. So I got 35 boxes here. And then way more than 35 here, right? So let's see. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 91. 91 here. Is 35 1 or 2 boxes away from 91? No, I would say this is an irregular rhythm. So we have QRSs. Yes, my rhythm is irregular, which means I need to get the mean and the range. My mean rate, I count by tens. The Q by QRS is 10, which is your 6-second method, 20, and 30 beats per minute. And then I need to get my range, which again is the slowest to fastest beat, which I'm going to divide by counting those little boxes and dividing by 1500. So 1500 divided by 35 gives me 42.85, and I'm going to round it off to 43. And then 1500 divided by 91 is going to give me 16. I'm gonna round it off to 16. It's 16.48, so it's a little bit less than that 0.5. So I'm gonna say 16 beats per minute is my slowest rate, and 43 is my faster rate. Okay, so do the other practices on your own. Call me if you